Hey guys, what's going on? My name's Sandman, and let's talk about what I personally think is it's my favorite show so far of this year. Then I don't watch a lot of shows. I don't. I'm not a big person to go and sit there and like binge a show or even watch like one or two episodes and then like one or two episodes the next day. Like I'm not a show person. I'm honestly not. The only show that I have recently actually like sat down and watched and enjoyed, other than Megalobox, which I watched earlier this year, is The Sandman, because I think the comics are great. I haven't read that much of them, but I think they're great, and I think Neil Gaiman is a fantastic writer. So I'm like, let's see how this is. Normally comic book or like manga adaptations that are live action, they're not that good. They don't do that well. They're not great. But so far, with how close they've been keeping the Sandman to the original source material, it's fucking good. It's good, man. I love it. I'm loving it. And okay, I need to kind of pull back a little bit. Let's pull back a little bit and let's talk. Back in like May, I had jury duty. During that time, I owned like the first 4 volumes of The Sandman, and during those few days that I was down there, I read like the first volume of The Sandman and the first volume of Hellblazer, which is John Constantine's comic, and I fell in love with both, but mostly The Sandman. And no, that's not where I take The Sandman King from, because that was actually like my first time reading through the first 8 volumes. I glanced through them before, but I'm like, I go by The Sandman King. I should probably pick up The Sandman, but I hadn't read it. And reading it during that time when I didn't want to bring anything in because it's going down to the cities, and I didn't want to deal with that. So I brought down like 4 or 5 books and was just reading the whole time when I wasn't in court. And yeah, I loved the book. Like the first 8 comics, all the way up through The Sound of Her Wings. I love that because I have it in Preludes and Nocturnes version, and it's like it's one of those stories that I really like, and I love the adaptation. I love the Netflix show. I think, like everybody else is saying, it is a great show. The casting is really good. Like, I love the guy that plays Morpheus, and I'm fine with like a lot of their other choices, except maybe Constantine. I don't see why it had to become a woman, why he had to become a woman, but whatever. I can look past that because they're only there for 1 episode, and it's like, whatever, I don't care. But it's like, it's supposed to be John Constantine, and Constantine is one of those few characters that I'm a fan of because he is kind of an anti-hero. So yeah, I'm like slightly annoyed at that, but other than that, I don't really care. I don't care about the changes. It's like, I'm not one of those, oh, I can't watch this because they turn death from a white woman in the comics to a black woman. I don't care. I don't care about what the casting is. I care about how good they are at portraying the character. And so far, I actually really like the episodes that I've watched of The Sandman. I've only watched up through episode 5 and probably like a quarter of 6 before I went to bed last night. But it's one of those shows I'm like, I'm really getting into this. I'm really liking this. It's one of the few shows that I'm like, okay, I really like this. And yes, there are very few shows like that. I don't want to get into the shows that I hate, but there's a lot of them. But The Sandman is not one of them. The Sandman it's so far fucking great. Sure, there are little things, like the lighting was really weird for the end of the diner scene between Morpheus and Dee, but that may have just been my monitor. I don't know what it was, but it was a tiny bit weird. So I was like, nah, I kind of get where some people were coming from with the cinematography being a little off sometimes, but so far, like, I love everything about the show, and I'm looking forward to watching the last 4 episodes of this first season. I don't have much more to talk about because I'm not one of those people that like puts a lot of time into watching shows and things like that. I put more times into playing games and making those videos, making 10-hour impressions and stuff, than I do into watching shows, because a lot of shows don't hold my attention. If I'm gonna say like what my top shows are, a lot of them are cartoons. The top live action ones for me are Sons of Anarchy, The Sandman. That's about it. Yeah, that's about it. I can't really think of other ones that are actually up there for me for like shows that I would gladly watch. Like maybe if I really felt like it, I could get into Yellowstone and The Boys. But there's a lot that are a hell no from me that I don't care for. Stuff like Game of Thrones, which is a whole other beast of why I highly dislike that story and that show, the books, all of it. Like, I highly dislike it. That is a story for another time. Like, I don't care for Game of Thrones. I don't care for The Walking Dead. I never got into Breaking Bad. Like, there's just stuff. It's not. I've been kind of like looking at Peaky Blinders a little more and a little more and a little more, but I don't know if I'll actually get into that. It's the same with movies. There's not a lot of movies that I like or that I actually have an interest in. But yeah, that's all of that is like story for another time. I'm just gonna reiterate again. I love the Sandman. I think the Sandman is fucking great. I love the comics. I love the whole story of it. I love that it's a comic book movie without the normal superhero bullshit. Or not comic book movie, but comic book show without the normal superhero bullshit. Yes, they're super powered, but they're not. It's not, oh, I have to go and save the person. I have to be righteous and good and perfect. Or I had to be dark and I have to be brooding. I should really stop talking. Yeah, I really like the show. I think the show is great, and I've reiterated that like 3 times now. So I think I'm going to call it for this ramble. I hope you guys enjoyed this shit. If you want to hear about my my hatred for Game of Thrones, let me know, because I might start a podcast of just why I dislike that. I might start a podcast of stuff that I dislike. But right now, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm figuring stuff out still. But yeah, that's all I got, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you come back next week for my 10-hour impressions of Industria, because oh boy, is it gonna be a fucking doozy. I hope you guys have a royal day. Peace.